What it do? What it do? What's going on, Y2K crew? What is going on? I'm on the road and got some errands to run, and one of the stops that I'll be making is going to be the GameStop. But I figured I'd go live here because I saw a video from Easy Gamers. If you haven't checked out his channel, go check out Easy Gamers. But he went to the SoCal Retro Game Expo that occurred last weekend, and I think he did like a 3-part series to that video. Again, shout out to Easy Gamers. And in his last video, he kind of filmed a portion of a discussion that he was having around the prices of retro video games, the cost of just a hobby, buying retro games, the scarcity, how hard it is to find retro video, and then obviously like all the popularity surrounding retro video games over the last 5 to 6 years. And so he was having a conversation about it, and I thought it would be good to go live and just talk about not just like retro game pricing and where we're at with the cost of retro video games, but also like retro video game YouTube, and like where we're at with just like content around retro video games. And I kind of just want to start off by saying like the method of retro video games and retro video game collecting has like clearly evolved over the last 15-20 years. And when you think about some of the like retro video game OGs, right, like people who were making content around retro video games for a while, my mind goes to obviously like Cinemassacre, channels like that. I think about channels like CGR, Undertow, Classic Game Room, that is. Um, Obviously, you've got, folks like Top Hat Gaming and dudes like that who have been around for a long time. Metal Jesus Rocks, of course, he's been around for a long time, like ages. You know what I mean? But then there was like this new wave that came in between 2018, 2019, retro gaming content creators. And a lot of those guys really kind of focused on like game hunting, buying and selling retro games, really more so like the economy around retro video games, more so than like playing the video games themselves or collecting, so to speak. And that was like I said, that's probably like the 2018, 2019. And that's gonna probably be more like your Phoenix resales, your chases, guys like that. Um, and for a while, that style of content was really popular, like the first person game hunting experience, going to like Goodwills and pawn shops and GameStop and stuff like that. That was kind of like the brand, right? That was like the leading brand of retro video game hunting content, retro gaming content. And those guys have built some pretty solid platforms using that strategy. But I think like here now in 2026, like that strategy is just beyond dead. Like to me, it's beyond over. Phoenix Resale doesn't even do that stuff anymore. Retro Rick, I don't really think he like does, like that's not his main brand of content. Um, you still have like the not the Game Chasers. What's the dude? I can't think of his name. I think he's one of the dudes that actually put together SoCal Retro Gaming Expo. Riff, I think his name is. Like him and his friend, they still do like game hunting. They still do the swap meet thing, and I think they still do the like we just raided this house of, you know, you know, this old house, there's retro gems in here, and you know, they still do that style. But I think they have a viewer base that's large enough to still support that style. But like a lot of the dudes that blew up, especially during like 2020, they don't even really like engage in that. Like that's not even, and and I just think that the appetite for that type of like retro game hunting content, I feel like that appetite is, it's not gone, but it's just not, you're not gonna grow a 10,000 subscriber channel using that style of content. I mean, you'll grow, don't get me wrong, there's still a good amount of people who like that, but I feel like you're kind of limited to a degree. And and that's why, despite like all the retro games that I find like in the wild, no matter how many like rare titles and stuff, you guys rarely ever see me like make videos of me like out and about finding these games. It doesn't mean that I'm not finding them out there. Clearly I'm finding them. It's just it's not, I'm not driven to like, oh, let me record this, let me make sure my GoPro is on so that people could see me buying this like rare copy of Darkwing Duck for the NES. And like, I don't know, I just, to me it doesn't seem like a good use of my time. Now people have asked for it, you know, especially when I do like recap videos, like showing you guys. And I'm sorry if you guys are typing in the chat, I'm driving so I can't really see them, but like when I stop I'll take a look. But for anyone who's like knows me or who me out like in person, like, you know that I'm out there like hunting. And it's just, I just don't, I've never really seen the value in it. Now don't get me wrong, like maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, I might compile any footage that I do have from being out in the field, and maybe I'll put it in a video so that you guys can see some of the deals that I do. But I'm just not gonna make like a video every 3 days of me walking around GameStop. Like, I'm not. And the main reason for that is like, I try to just cut to the chase with my videos. I avoid you watching all the walking around, and I just show you what I got. Like, look guys, this is what I got. These are the games I got. This is what it is. And then I give my point of view. You know, I share my opinion. I share my thoughts and views on like the things I've picked up, you know, the gaming community, where I feel like, you know, gaming is now. You know, I kind of just give my little spiel, and then I let you guys go about your day. You know what I mean? Could I do more? Could I film more? Could I get more footage? I mean, sure I could, but like, I think again, like in 2026, that's just been done so much that, I mean, I don't really think you guys care. Like, you know what I mean? I think people are more interested in the end result. But don't get me wrong, I know there are a lot of people who like to see it. They like to go on the journey with you. They like to be a part of the experience of you finding the game. And so I totally get that. And maybe if like YouTube was more maybe if YouTube was more of like a full-time thing for me, like maybe if like I had more time, I would do that. I'm constrained by time, you know what I mean? And I'm so focused on actually acquiring the game, like actually getting the game in my possession, that I'm more focused on getting the game than recording myself getting the game. You know what I mean? So like, I'd rather just get it and miss out on the footage than like concentrate on the footage and like fumble an opportunity to get a nice score. So that's what it's been for me. But I think that, again, like I know, like I look at channels, and this is no knock to any channel that does this style of content. Like, I'm not saying you need to stop or you need to do something different or like you need to come up with a new content strategy. I'm not saying anything like that at all. But like, at this stage of the game, you're not gonna outdo what's already been done unless you're approaching it from a completely different standpoint, and unless you have a completely different creative approach to the content. Like, there's a dude, I think his name is Memory Card, and he makes game hunting videos, but he has such an authentic presentation and such a unique way of delivering his content that I think it's super engaging. People like to watch it. I mean, it definitely helps that he already had a huge channel, but I think his delivery is what really helps to sell the content, right? But unless you're delivering that content in a really unique way, it's not gonna hit like that. It's not gonna hit, like, really, and he's gonna appeal to a different demographic. Maybe he's gonna appeal more to like an urban demographic, maybe more like an inner city. Maybe there's just different things about him that I think will draw or attract an audience, versus like, if you're doing content and you just seem like another version of Chase, or you seem like another version of Phoenix Resale, or you seem like another version of Caterpie Crew, or you just seem like you almost wind up looking like the watered down version of those guys. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's really what it is. And to the viewer, that's how it's gonna seem. I've gotten a lot of criticism in the past on my on my on my channel for my content strategy, which is like me pointing a phone at some games and just rambling, right? I've gotten a lot of like flack for it over the years. But at the same token, like, no one else does it like me. Like, no one else does this. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one else presents in this way. So good or bad, I'm still me. You know what I mean? Like, good or bad, Y2K is still Y2K. You know a Y2K video when you see it or when you hear it, because Y2K has a unique way of delivering his content. And I think just like in 2026, if you're still making videos that probably would have got thousands of views like in 2021, then unless you're just doing it because you like to do it, and that's one thing. If you're like, well, hey, listen, I just do content this way because I like it and I think it's gonna, it's fun for me, I enjoy it. If that's the case, then go for it. Do what you can, do you. But if you're doing that type of content thinking like, yeah, you'll eventually hit like prime Phoenix resale numbers, or prime Chase at the right price numbers, or prime Retro Rick numbers, it's over, bro. That ship is sailed. Like, it's over. Like, people aren't tapped in like they were at that time. People don't care as much. A lot of people have moved on to Pokemon. We're just in a different economy. Most people are in a different place right now. And if you think about it, someone who was, because it's crazy how fast time flies. Like, it's crazy how fast time flies. If you think about it this way, someone who was 18 in 2020 is about to be 25, 24, 25. They are in a completely different phase of life. Someone who was 25 in 2020 is now in their 30s and is probably thinking about kids, is probably thinking about like other real life issues that they just were not thinking about back in 2020. So time moves on, audiences grow up, things move on. It's just the way it is. And if you're trying to I guess stay relevant, you have to evolve. And I think that's why we've seen some of the bigger channels kind of evolve from yard sales to interviewing businesses, then to, okay, this is my business, let me show you how I run my business. That's their evolution. Now, if you're someone who originally followed that channel because you liked the game hunting, and now 6 years later they're talking about how they run their business, well, that's just them evolving as an individual and changing, their approach to just life, not just gaming, but they're growing up. They're in a different phase of life. And some people don't want that. Some people are like, well, I come to this channel because I want this type of content, and if you're not going to give me this type of content, I'm out. You know what I mean? But I think that that's kind of where we're at with that. Now, as it relates to the conversation that I saw Easy Gamers have in his last video, that was the conversation that was around like retro games and, pricing, and where would we be today if, why are retro games so expensive? Why are people paying so much for games? Where did all the attention come from? And, I think Easy Gamers made some good points in it, when he was saying, a lot of people, a lot of awareness came around about it, and so many people want these games now because, oh yeah, that's what it was. They were arguing about price charting. They were like, how price charting was what kind of ruined the game hunting experience, because prior to price charting, people had a general sense of what a game might be worth in their head, but there was no like universal handbook that people could go to for an objective dollar amount. And by there being this rule book that kind of shows what the dollar amount is, it kind of ruined it, because now everybody's looking at games and attaching a dollar sign to it versus looking at games and attaching a level of fun to it. Like, how fun is it? How much fun am I going to have? And so the value is really more so being driven by the price dollar associated with price charting versus how fun the game itself might actually be. And I think that at the end of the day, it's like anything else. The more rare something is, just the more expensive it's gonna be. That's anything, and video games are the same way. I think we've hit a point with video games where a lot of people probably thought that there was going to be this massive crash in prices. By this time, a lot of people thought that games would have went back down to $0 or $5 a piece. But it looks like time is showing us that prices aren't going anywhere. They're staying exactly where they're at. And as long as something is rare, it's going to be what it's going to be. Let me jump into some of these comments real quick here. Crash, what's going on? Hey, where you heading? I'm heading to run some errands, man. He said, what about Metal Jesus, Mr. Right Way? I don't know. Mr. Right Way to me is so I didn't really watch a lot of Mr. Right Way. Like, I know he's been around for a while, but I didn't watch a ton of him. I have watched some of his videos. And I think he's cool. He's just, he's not like, I've watched his videos, but he's just not someone I watched a lot. Like, I watched like Sega Lord X. I've watched a lot of those channels that have no commentary. It's only gameplay footage. So you're just purely watching gameplay footage. I watch a lot of stuff like that. I watch a lot of like informative channels, and not to say that Mr. Right Way isn't informative. He's just a lot more animated. And so I just don't, I didn't watch a lot of him. He's a cool cat though, like, no disrespect. If you like him, you like him. I know some people don't like him. I remember there was a point where there was a channel, I think, named Slotham, that was going in on Mr. Right Way. Like, every week he was going in on Mr. Right Way. So I know he's definitely got some haters out there, but if you get big enough on YouTube, you're gonna have haters. That's just the way it is. Like, if you grow your channel to any certain size, somebody's gonna just find a reason to not like you. So, Scott, what's going on? Scott Free, bro. Y2K, honestly, your memory and recall is iconic with games and gamers all across the board. That's funny. What's going on, Jeremy? I'm trying to add Wild Guns to my SNES collection. It's a tough find. Yeah, SNES games are tough. I mean, there's a bunch of them on GameStop's website now, so you can definitely try it there. Brian, it's hard to edit content when it's not actually the enjoyable part. This is true. This is true. Editing content, it's not that it's not enjoyable to me, it's that it requires time and focus. And when you've got little kids running around that constantly want your attention, it's really hard to lock in and edit something. You have to wait till either everybody's asleep or get up super early in the morning. And that's the part that makes things tough. And if you're not in a position where you can have that type of time, then it's just not gonna work for you. Or you're just gonna do quick edits, like kind of what I do. Check out a creator called Memory Card. He's doing that style content, but his delivery is fresh and his pursuit is genuine rather than based. Yeah, we just talked about that. Finally caught your live. Love your channel. Thank you, man. Cyril Weiss. I literally just sent it. Yep. Memory Card. Memory Card is cool, man. Memory Card is cool. I'll record a bunch of gameplay, then sit down to edit. Realize Easy's in the chat. What's going on, Easy? Yeah, I was just talking about you. So I was just talking about the video you dropped today, where you were talking to, I think you were talking to Doublemint about price charting and how price charting has changed, has kind of changed things for collectors and creators, and how it's kind of driven up price and awareness. And Yeah, I was just talking about that, kind of just sharing my thoughts on that. I think price charting has done that. I think video game prices are here to stay. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. I don't see anything really changing anytime soon. BZ11 says, my opinion, all major modern consoles are going to force commercials on gamers like Xbox rumored to be doing. When this happens, retro is going to be even bigger. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I could definitely see that. I do think that, you know, the next phase of video game content or like retro gaming content is probably going to follow what that memory card dude is doing. Not his style, not his presentation style, but the more story driven type of content. And it's not to say like there isn't story driven retro gaming content. I mean, there's the one dude who's always talking about his dad. I can't remember his name, but he's got a story for almost every single video game created. So he's been doing story-driven content for a long time, but his is very personal to him and his dad, and there's probably not as many people that can relate specifically to his experiences. But I think if you do relatable, story-driven retro gaming content and you present it in a very cool way, a very unique way, I definitely think that there's an avenue for that type of content, you know. And that's one of the things that I would love to get into because, man, like I've got a very interesting story with retro games. You know, I've lived on both sides of the fence, the hood side of the fence, in the hood, in the ghetto, with little money, and I've lived on the other side of the fence where we actually had some money and we could afford some nice things and we could do some nice things. And I know how the two gaming experiences could be very different, especially as a kid. I can relate with the experience of not really having a lot of games growing up, but then getting older and then having the ability to get games and you know, and I've shared some of that type of content. You know, I've made some videos like that. There's a video on my channel called The Last Continue. It was like a short film that I made, which kind of gives you a very high, you know, level breakdown of that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the direction that content is gonna go. And unless you like really just enjoy, like I enjoy making these lives when I'm running errands, in between errands. I like making those quick 10-minute videos showing you guys what I picked up. That's just for me. That's kind of what my channel's been about since day one. That's like if you go all the way back. I mean, this right here, this content style is how my channel grew to over 8,000 subscribers. Because you guys don't even watch the edited content that much. You guys watch this stuff more. And I think it's just, again, I think it's just you gotta be you. You gotta figure out what's fun and easy for you just moving forward. ScottTube TV, what's going on? FYI, GameStop doing away with reward points by next year, which is a bummer. Thinking, oh shoot, that's why. Wow. So ScottTube, thank you for that information. That must have been why. So I was in GameStop the other day, and the dude told me like you need to use your points like right now, like use them right away. That must be the reason why. That sucks. No points? That's like half of the reason I'm a pro member to begin with. Look, that's a bad sign, bro. If GameStop starts eliminating things like rewards points and the extra 5% off, and you combine that with the fact that they're buying up every single broken console, they're buying up all your consoles, they're buying up all your games, they're removing rewards points, and they're hiking up prices, it's over, bro. It is over. If you think it's bad now, if you think retro game pricing is bad now, wait till GameStop corners it or everything is sucked out of the secondary markets like yard sales and flea markets and stuff. I mean, I'll leave you guys with this because I got to run. I got errands to do. I walked into a GameStop the other day. And when I walked into the GameStop, there were like 10 Wii's stacked on top of each other. There were like 4 N64s. There was like 3 fat PlayStation 2s, 2 PlayStation 2 Slims, a bunch of Super Nintendos, a bunch of Sega Genesis, a bunch of NES consoles. And I was just looking like, damn, somebody must be trading these in. And then I remembered like GameStop is still buying broken consoles. So I was like, oh, shoot, somebody must be getting ready to clean up. And so I was waiting online because I was going to pick up something and I see, and this is no judgment. I'm not judging anyone. This is just not what I expected to see. But I see an older lady walk in, a considerably older lady. Like, this lady had to be between 60 and 70 years old, an older lady, and she had a shopping cart. And if you go up in the hood, you know what that lady looks like, with the old lady with the shopping cart. She had a shopping cart, and she walked up next to those consoles, and it turned out that she was the one selling all of the consoles. She was the one selling pretty much everything that was there. And I was like, this is my competition? I used to have to worry about young dudes and, other cats, being my competition when it came to retro games. But now I'm competing with the elderly. And no one has more time than old people. They got all the time in the world. They're retired. How am I supposed to compete with somebody who's retired? That's all you can do. You have all the time in the world to go to every single flea market, every single estate sale. You can go to every GameStop. You can spend your entire week, 7 days a week, doing that. And I was like, if I got to compete with older people who have all this time on their hands, we are cooked. It's over. There's no way I'm going to be able to compete with that. Like, it's over. How are you competing with that? You can't compete with that. So I'm going to let y'all go. Think about that. I'll have another video maybe, hopefully later on this week, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. You guys take it easy.